Si quieres, póntela, si puedes, no sé técnicamente, ponte la cama un segundito para que te vean, sepan quién eres.
Claro, un segundo. ¿Me ven ahora? Ahora tendrían que verme.
No, lo que vemos es tu presentación.
La pantalla, ¿verdad? Ok.
Sí.
No,
¿Ahora?
tampoco te veo en cámara, Silvi.
A ver, es que me marca un error con la cámara, no sé por qué. A ver, vamos a intentarlo de nuevo. ¿Siguen sin verme?
Yo no te veo.
No te
Sí,
vemos.
tampoco
Bueno,
te
tranquila,
veo.
si no funciona no pasa nada. No.
Sí, es que me aparece ya que está encendida la luz como si me estuvieran viendo. Pero... no. Vale, pues parece que no sé por qué no me deja abrirlo. Vamos a probar aquí. ¿Nada?
No, está raro, pero pues no te preocupes.
Sí, en un momento intentaré del móvil a ver si de ahí me deja porque no sé qué está pasando, no sé si sea Teams.
No, si no, tranquila, empieza
He
la
querido hacerlo
presentación.
desde mi ordenador y no me ha dejado y he tenido que venirme al ordenador de Edgar y tampoco me deja abrir la cámara. Pero bueno, si les parece, podemos iniciar así y veré si más adelante puedo incorporarme a mi ordenador o si puedo hacer la presentación para que me vean un poco al final a través de mi móvil, ¿vale?
Ok, adelante.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see.
Yes, sí.
Perfect. Well, hello everybody. Sorry for about the inconvenience. My name is Silvia. I'm a fourth-year PhD student, and I'm so happy to be here sharing with you a part of my research. First of all, I would like to tell you about my thesis. This is about advertising and its influence on reactants and purchase intention. Well, our research takes place in Mexico. Here we are making all the investigation. And first of all, I would like to talk about advertising. What is advertising? Advertising is a term coming from the advertising industry. It promotes the equality and empowerment of women. It uses a kind of message, images, and all that roles that empower women. It's a new kind of advertising, and its main elements is the empowerment of women. So why advertising? Because we choose this term, or I'm interested in advertising because this type of advertising appears to attend the needs of women who don't feel identified with the advertising aimed to them. Because there are a lot of researches that tell us that women don't feel identified with the kind of advertising that is aimed to them. So this term comes from the industry and tries to attend this kind of women. So once we know this, the theoretical framework on which our research is based are feminist theorism and psychological research theory. First, the feminist theory. Why feminist theory? Well, feminist theory has a critical approach in the studies. It defends women's interests and rights and shows gender inequality. In the other hand, they have transferred the struggles of women over the years. So that's why we consider it is an appropriate theory for our research. On the other hand, we have the psychological research reactance theory. It was developed by Brehm in 1996. And the psychological reactance theory, well, some authors indicate that reactance in advertising consist on the creation of the certain advertisement. So in the viewer, they could trick on advertising behavior to what they are advertising. So the main object of the psychological reactance is that in some case in publicity or in advertising, the kind of spots or the content of the spots produce in most cases an inverse reaction that the expected of the advertising of the advertiser. Sorry. That's why we thought that psychological reactance theory, it was a good theory for research. Well, based on these two theories, we have our three hypotheses. The first hypothesis tells us that the use of advertising as an advertising strategy in commercials generates more purchase intention in Mexican consumers than non-advertising commercials. Non-advertising commercials are traditional advertising. And our hypothesis number two is that the use of advertising as an advertising strategy in commercials generates less psychological reactance in Mexican consumers than non-advertising commercials. And the third one, but not less important, is that the lower that reactance generate by advertising, the higher the purchase intention in female Mexican consumers. So, attendance to three hypotheses and to provide the development of this, we developed the methodology that in the few slides, I will explain it. First of all, I think that it's important to tell you that the study of advertising has been approached from different methodological approaches. So, among the most commonly, they are using questionnaires, focus group, interviews, content analysis, and case studies, and experimental designs. So we are going to use, or we used a mixed methodology using qualitative and quantitative. And we made an experimental design. The methodology is composed of 3 phases and 6 stages that I will explain in the next few slides. In the phase number 1, we analyze the elements that main brands, that the brands use in the spots or in the commercial that they said that are for advertising. So in this part, we just identify and categorize that elements to continue analyzing that in the in the spots. So we review a lot of studies that have advertising in the period that we are working with. Once the elements that characterize advertising and differentiate them from the rest of the advertising, we have grouped in 13 categories that you can see in the slide. We put all these characteristics in 13 categories that we thought that are correctly, and we must do this for the next pretest that you will see it. In the stage number 2, we select the brands that the authors and some investigations said that promote advertising. So once we identified those brands, we select the advertising spots. One of the criteria that we used to select the brands were that global brands with presence in Mexico, because our investigation takes place there. They were the best evaluated brands according to a lot of students, like She Woman or She Knows Media. And they were, or they must be, in the one of the 2 categories that according to some authors, they apply this kind of strategies. So sportswear and footwear, or cosmetic and personal care. So attending to those criteria, we select Nike, Dove, L'Oréal Paris, and Pantene. And once we have the brands that we will use, we must select which spots we are going to use for our investigation. So the criteria to select those spots were that audiovisual advertising aimed to women, products target at women, and obviously that they have presence in Mexico. So attending to those criteria, we select these 4 spots that you can see in this table. Juntas imparables, un pelo pantene lo dice todo, con True Match no hay barreras, la belleza bajo tus propias reglas. So one per brand, one spot for advertising per brand. In the phase number 2, we try to analyze the spots. Why analyze the spots? Because we want to identify and verify that the elements that the author said that compose advertising are present in the select advertising. So we made a table and we analyzed all the spots and we were identifying those elements. And then we made this table where we put the category, the spot, and the question about the elements. So we can see that 3 of the 4 ads have the 13 advertising categories. So we decide to use the 4 for the next phase. And the next phase was the pretest. The pretest was distributed in 16 blocks. The blocks number 1, it was the socio-demographic questions. The block number 2, it was about prior knowledge of the brand, because we want to know how people think about the brand before to see the spot. And blocks 3 to 16 were questions about advertising categories, if they identify those categories in the spots. The blocks 2 to 16 are repeated 4 times, 1 per spot, 1 per Nike, 1 per L'Oreal, 1 per Pantene, and 1 for Dove, okay? And it contains 134 questions. We apply it to Mexican women between 18 and 68 years old, and we have 112 answers. In the results, we can see that the 13 categories was mostly identified just in Dove and L'Oreal spots. So attending to those results, we decide to use just these 2 brands. In the phase number 2, we would like to analyze the influence of advertising on female customers. So in this part, we analyze the relation between advertising, psychological reactance, and purchase intention in the Mexican consumers. In this part, we proceed to select non-advertising spots, so commune advertising. Why? Because we want to compare the advertising spots versus non-advertising spots to see if there's some difference between the psychological reactance and the purchase intention that they generate in the Mexican consumers. So 2 spots have been selected, 1 per brand, 1 per Dove, 1 per L'Oreal. The selection criteria were audiovisual advertising, products targeted at women, ads that higher rate brands in the pretest, so that they were spots of Dove and L'Oreal Paris. So here you can see the 2 spots that we select like non-advertising. Sueñas con tener el pelo largo, no lo cortes. Barras de belleza Dove. They were the spot that we select as non-advertising, but we need to be sure that they are non-advertising and how we can be sure about it. So we made the same analysis and we made the same table, and we can see that they effectively don't have, or they have the absence of the 13 advertising categories. So they can be considered as non-advertising, and they will be used in the final questionnaire. In the stage number 6, well, we want to measure the impact of purchase intention and reactance generated by advertising on Mexican female customers. Well, when we select the spots, now we want to develop the impact. So how can we do this? Well, first of all, we made a reception questionnaire. To prepare or to make the reception questionnaire, we use 4 spots, 2 per brand. For Dove, 1 for advertising spot, 1 non-advertising spot. To L'Oreal, 1 for advertising spot and 1 non-advertising spot. In this questionnaire, it was distributed in 7 sections and 57 questions. In the section number 1, we have socio-demographic questions. And section number 2, we have question about purchase intention and reactance of advertising spot by L'Oreal. In the section number 3, we have the question about purchase intention and reactance of the non-advertising spot by L'Oreal. In the section number 4, we have both L'Oreal spots and manipulation check. The manipulation check question I will explain in the next few slides, but it's a very important question for us. In the section number 5, we have questions about purchase intention and reactance of the advertising spot of Dove. In section number 6, we have the questions about purchase intention and reactance of the non-advertising spot by Dove. And in the section number 7, we have both spots about Dove. They were applied to Mexican women between 18 and 68 years old. Well, about the questions. Our purchase intention questions were 3 to 7 of sections 2, 3, 5, and 6. What they are repeated, because remember we have 2 brands and 4 spots. So we have to apply these kind of questions 4 times. And we develop these questions based on adaptation that we do of Dutch moral agreeable scale. We use a 7-point Likert scale, where 1 corresponds to totally disagree and 7 corresponding to totally agree. About reactance, there were questions about 8 to 12 sections, 2, 3, 5, or 6. And the items be adapted from those at Marimoto and Macia and Añaños, psychological reactance. And it was a 7-point Likert scale, going from 1 is totally disagree and 7 totally agree. And about the manipulation questions, well, the manipulation question is an important question for us because it permits to identify whether the response attend to the stimulates present in the questionnaire or our experiment. In this case, it was like our control question, and we determined the effectiveness of the manipulation of the questionnaire. If the people that were answering our questionnaire really reads our questions or not. So we eliminate all the people or the women that answer incorrect to this question. Here you can see the ads that we use for the analysis and for the experiment. For the time, I will not reproduce it, but if you want to see it, you can tell me and I will share you, okay? There are the 4 ads that we use. Well, our results. Once we did that, we applied 713 questionnaires to women between 18 and 65 years old. We have our manipulation question. All the people were Mexican. And finally, we have 666 valid questionnaires. With this quantity of questionnaires, we have a level of trust of 90% and a margin of mistake of 5%. Now it's time to analyze the results of advertising versus not advertising spots. And we're currently working on the results, so this part is not yet completed, but we're working on it. And to do this analysis, we use SPSS, and we made a factor analysis, a linear regression, and correlations. So now I'm trying to explain the tables, and we are working my director is helping me to do this part, because for me, it was a hard part, because some of us, well, we don't know how to use this kind of platforms, of this kind of elements, so it's difficult. But we have the tables of 10, and they were in process of analysis and interpretation, so we cannot yet give definitely results. Well, I would like to give you some suggestions in this part that we are making in this PhD. So I think that everything seems impossible until it's done. And it's something that I remember always during this process. Why? Because I would like to give you some recommendation or some suggestions. If you need a break, take it. It's not bad, take it. But don't let the thesis stand for long, because it's hard to come back. It's really hard to come back if you let it for a lot of time. Well, another point that I think that is important is read a lot. It's never too much. Never is too much. Never. I continue reading, and I sometimes see, oh my God, I don't think about it. So if you read, you will obtain a lot of information that is important to your thesis. Always consult and listen to your thesis advisor. Remember that is your best friend in this process. I think that my director, for me, is my best friend, because I run with her when I have a problem with my thesis, when I discover something interesting. So be with them all the time. And most importantly, never give up. You can do it. If someone else can, you can do it. I know that it's hard, that it's a difficult process, that sometimes, or maybe to me, it happens. Sometimes I thought like, oh my God, why I'm here? But then I turn around and I look like, yes, I can do it. I will finish this. Let's do it. So this is the bibliography that I use. And for my part is all. Thank you.
Hello, well, do we have any questions, or let us know?
Yes, this is Alina, and I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, congratulations, you have presented very well. And however, I have a little confusion in one part, that how did you collect the data? You did online experiments, or you directly contacted the respondents? And
Online
the other,
experiment.
yeah, online. So it was an online experiment. How did you show the advertisements to your respondents?
Sorry, I can't hear you. Can you repeat me again, please?
Yeah, sure. Oh my God, excuse my parrot's voice.
Don't worry.
I wanted to ask that how did you how did you show the advertisements to the respondents? Like, it was an online experiment. You placed the whole advertisement, or you placed the link of the advertisements in the experiment?
Yes, I use platforms like Facebook, like Outlook, or Messenger, and we put the link, so they have some questions to deliver the people and select it. So we were eliminated all the people that we don't want for the experiment, but we do always online because of the COVID and everything.
Okay. And one more question, that where did you put the manipulation check? Right after the questions, or before getting them towards the questions?
I put the question just in the middle, and I tried that was a question according to the questionnaire, so they don't look like different. The question was about, in advertising, the colors are most important. Please select the purple color. So they must select the purple color, but they were a lot of people that select yellow, pink, red, and everything. So I put in the middle of the questionnaire trying to not change the next answers.
All right. Thank you so much, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Do we have more questions? Silvia, ¿puedes enseñar lo tienes a mano, el cuestionario, the questionnaire?
A ver, dame un segundo, que estoy en el ordenador de Edgar, pero...
The link, so they can see the experimental set.
Sí, dame un segundo, que Edgar me está ayudando a conectar desde mi ordenador para poder compartirles esto.
Ok.
Porque sí que lo tengo y la verdad que me parecería interesante que pudieran verlo. Okay. Sí que les aparece mi solicitud, ¿no? Ahora. Sí. Parece que ya estoy pudiendo acceder, ¿eh, David? Solo dame unos segundos.
Sí, tranquila.
Para poderlo compartir.
We'll wait for you.
Ok. Lo tengo. Sí. ¿Qué se escribe? Ya, ¿no? Vale. Muy bien. A ver, ahora intentaré compartirles la pantalla para que puedan ver el cuestionario. Can you see it?
Sí, se ve, Silvia.
Sí, Silvia.
Okay. Here we have the...
No te oímos, tienes silenciado tu micrófono.
¿Ahora me escuchan?
Sí.
Sí, se escucha.
Perfecto. Well, here is the questionnaire, the final questionnaire that we made. And this is the part that I told you about the socio-demographical questions. We asked about the gender, age, rate of study. And if you want, I will go direct. Well, you can see how we structure the questions. There are the spot. And I'm going to go to the manipulation check question. It was the 15. Here it is. This one was our question, our manipulation question. The use of color and publicity is most important, so it could influence in the decision of in-person decisions. So in this case, we don't want to know which is your favorite color. So we want you to select just the purple color. So that was our manipulation check question. The people that was attending to the questionnaire and they were reading correctly, they select purple. But a lot of people select yellow, red, blue, or green. So those kind of answers were eliminated of our you can see it, we have 713 answers, but we just consider 666 answers.
Silvia, sorry, could you repeat that, please? I didn't quite get why purple was the correct answer. So how did it work?
It's because the manipulation check questions tell us that it's a control question. So you can make a question that you have which is the correct answer, and you will tell to the people to select one correct answer. If they are reading, they will choose it. See, if they are not reading, they will choose another answer. It could be color, it could be another answer about your favorite car or something, but you need to put a correct answer to know if they are putting attention to the stimulates. I don't know if it's clear now.
Oh, okay. I think that I didn't get it because I didn't read the full question. Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why we put just one correct answer. But we try with this question to not change the next answers of the people that were trying in the questionnaire. So that's why we decide that those questions or that question were about a color. I don't know if it's another question about it or if you want to see it something different.
Could you explain all the questionnaire, all the steps, so people can follow it?
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, this is an important part for us because we just are doing this for women. So if they select men or some gender, so we need to eliminate the answer. So we just take about take importance, or we just select the people who choose women. Here you can put all the socio-demographical answers. Then in this first part or section, we have L'Oréal Paris, and we ask them about the image of the brand before to answer the questionnaires and before to see the advertising spots. Here we explain them how to answer, and they must see the spot. And then we have the questions, first of all, about the brand. And then we have the questions about the purchase intention and reactants produced by this spot. In this section is all about the advertising spot of L'Oréal.
Silvia, ¿puedes ir un poquito más lento? Es que lo pasas muy rápido.
Yes, yes,
sí.
of course.
Ni yo lo sigo, creo que los alumnos menos.
Sorry. Well, you can select between totally disagree to totally agree. And we have the questions, and these questions are that I mentioned about the adaptation of the mood and about añaños. If you remember in the presentation, I comment you about an adaptation that we made in the scales of purchase intention and reactants. So here are the questions. Sorry, because it's not in English, the questionnaire, but because we apply in Mexico.
What is the question about reactants? How do you ask?
For example, here is purchase intention. And here, starting from the question number 8, we have the spot producing me reactants, or I don't want to continue see it. So if it producing you reactants, you will select totally agree. But if don't producing you reactants, they must select totally disagree. The next one is about reactants 2. The way that spot shows women upset me. So totally disagree, totally agree. I don't like the spot. The way that they represent the women make that I don't want to buy products of this brand. And this is an important question about reactants. The spot I want to continue watching the spot. Totally disagree or totally agree? Because in the results, now that we are analyzing them, I can see, or we can see, that the femvertising spots, they have more, less reactants than non-femvertising spots. So for us, that's important because one of our hypotheses tell that. And the same things happens with purchase intention. With the spots with femvertising, they produce more purchase intention than non-femvertising spot for the same brand. And those questions are the same in the next section, but now it's about L'Oreal, and we have the non-femvertising spot. So we have exactly the same questions, but for non-femvertising spot. And now we are trying to create 4 models, one model for spot femvertising of L'Oreal, one model for spot non-femvertising of L'Oreal, and the same for Dove. If you can see it, they're all the same questions, the same for spots. Now I will go to Dove, to L'Oreal. Here we continue with L'Oreal, femvertising L'Oreal, and non-femvertising L'Oreal. This is the part where I told you about, we put both spots and we ask them like a comparison question. If they see difference between one spot or another spot, if they identify a difference between one spot and another spot using the elements that characterize femvertising. For example, like the empowerment of women, that they show like a professionist, like an independent. And then we have the manipulation check question. And here we have Dove. And if you can see, they were the same questions about the brand. Then we can see the spot. And we ask about purchase intention. Here we start in the question number 4. We start with the questions about purchase intention. Purchase intention after see the spot. And we have again the question about reactants. And the same for Dove, non-femvertising spot.
Alvena, speak up, Alvena. You can ask your question.
Hola, Silvia. ¿Cómo hace?
En inglés, Alvena, que no todo el mundo.
Hi, Silvia. How do you make people engage in social long questionnaire? I kind of like feel that it's a little long, at least for the States. And if people see like social long questionnaire, they will leave in the middle. So any tip about that?
Yeah, it was hard because the pre-tests were too long. It was like 157 questions. Now here we have around 75 questions just, but it's hard work. I know that it was difficult. I think the most important thing for me to do the people continue and enroll in the questionnaire was the kind of interesting that they consider femvertising is. Because when I talked to them about this kind of spots, the women were like interesting, so they want to continue doing this. So I think that that is important that we use 4 different spots. So we're watching the spot and then we're continue. That's why I consider to put the manipulation check in the middle to try to know if they continue engage in the questionnaire. There's not a magic way to do it, but thanks to God, I try it and I do it very fast. I think in 1 week and a half, I have the 713 questionnaires. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you need to find, like you need to specifically target people that are interested in your topic or theme. Otherwise, they will leave the questionnaire like in the second question.
Yes, and you must try to talk the people about the topic, to transmit to them that kind of love that you have about your topic. I think that is most important in your investigation, that the people knows that your topic is interesting.
Did they know that you were researching about advertising?
No, I talked to them that I was making a research about that kind of publicity, and then I told them that when they finish, I will explain about this, and I will show them the results of my investigation. So when they look at the questionnaire, they tell me, oh, and what about this kind of spots, or why this? And I explain them about advertising, because I don't want that they be like prepared about this. So I don't talk about advertising. I talk about the spots. I talk about the brands. I talk about the kind of publicity or the spot, but I didn't mention advertising at least.
And Silvia, how long did it take? How much time from the first day where you started like to share the links for the questionnaires and until you're collected all the replies, the answers?
Almost 2 weeks. I think it was faster because I got to a group of Mexicans that they live here, and they have a lot of dynamics and everything. So I put there, and I put in a lot of groups in Facebook. I put in groups of the university. It's a hard work because you need to be checking if they are answering, because some people tell you, yeah, I will answer, and they never answer. So you must be patient. Sometimes it could be faster, sometimes no, because I remember that in the pretest, there were only 100 questionnaires, and it takes to me almost 3 weeks. So when I know that I must make 666 questionnaires, I was like, oh my God, I will never finish. But really it takes like 2 weeks.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Silvia, before finishing, because we still have 5 minutes, could you go again to the manipulation check question?
Okay, of course. Thank you. Yes, here it is.
Okay, we usually use a manipulation check for experiments. So in this case, another way to attack the manipulation check would be to make a question about the spot instead of making a general question. Just could you tell me if the girl in the spot was jumping or things like this? So what was the girl in the spot doing? So with this question, you are sure that they watched the spot. Okay, so it's important that, and I'm talking for all the students, that when you do these kind of questions, it's important if you talk about the stimuli that you are using, in this case the spots. So could you go up at the beginning of the questionnaire? So another thing, okay, now a little down to age. I want to stop in age.
Okay.
My advice, if you do like research and you are asking age, it's just ask the age. So they write a number. and because then it's a quantitative variable and you have more power to deal with it. The way that Silvia did it was in a categorical way. So you see there are like 5 different type of ages. So in somehow we are losing information. If we have all the information, then we can do more analysis. This question is very important, I think, for this research, depending on the sample. Silvia, do you know the percentages of the categories?
Yes, I know it, and I have it. If you want, I can see it. I can show it. So, not show it, just if you can tell me the percentages. It's not necessary to show. Yes, the 75%, they were between 26 and 35 years, and next from 36 and 45 years, with a 23%, if I remember correctly. Okay, so this is important because in some kind of experiments, age can be I don't know the name in English, una variable ruido. So it can be a variable that biases your results. So it's very important. Noise. A noise variable. No, noise variable. Noise. No, the name is not noise. I don't remember the name now. But it's very important that if you do an experiment or anything that you do, that you control for age in your model. When you use like this in Jamovi, no? When you use all for example, in the GLM of Jamovi, you add these variables as controlling variables. So you know that the age is not affecting the results, but it could be, for example, that the age would affect the results. So the results is not because of the spot, but because of the age. And this is something that you have to really pay attention, because you can have a really biased results if you don't control for different variables. Like, for example, Silvia could control for age, and then what else do you have? Like level of nivel de estudios. Yes. So she could control for, if she has like different, I don't know, probably your sample, the level of estudios is high, no? Or yes. Yes. The most important, it was like university, and then PhD, and then I don't know the name. It's like high school. I don't know if in Spain is the same, but high school. High school, sí. Yeah. La preparatoria, preparatoria. El instituto, preparatoria. El instituto, So in this case, it would be very interesting to control if the subjects are at the university, or they have studied at the university, or they don't have university level, because this variable could bias all the results. So it's very important because you add these questions, try to control for these variables. So when you control for the variables, you know that these different variables are not affecting your results. And after nivel de estudios que tienes, what's the next? The same. All these variables, you can use it like control variables. So it can give you like more information or more detailed information about the experiment. Yeah.
Excuse me, David, can I ask you one question, like still regarding age? Like if, for example, if she, in the beginning, she says that she wants to interview women from 18 to 65 years old, but let's say that in the end, she finds out that no women within this bracket, the last one, between 56 and 65, nobody in this age group replied. So what do? You just go on without these answers from this age group, or you try a little bit further to get at least some of, like representation from this age group?
It depends on your objectives. If your goals, you need to, I don't know, to do like over 56, you need to look for the sample. You know what I mean? If your goal is like, for example, I want to know if there are differences among young people and older people.
Okay.
Because but then your hypothesis could be like, if I use advertising, advertising works better for younger people than for older people. In this case, or in this hypothesis, you really need to control for age.
Okay.
But if you don't have this hypothesis, and for example, in your sample, I don't know, because Silvia has two groups, no? She from 26 to 35, and from 36 to 45, if I'm right, no? The most common questions. So in this regard, I don't know if it's different to be 27 than to be 44, but you could control for this to know if age, I don't remember the name in English of this, but if this variable is like, it's adding bias to the study.
Huge.
Because if you don't control for this, maybe your results are not because of advertising, they are because of age, or maybe they are because of a level of studies.
Okay.
Do you follow me? If not,
yes.
I can repeat.
Yes. No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah.
That's why when you ask for age, it's better to ask like a number, because then you can do the groups that you want. You know what I mean? You can say, no, I'm gonna put like people from, I don't know, from 18 to 20, and then you group this in the statistical analysis in Jamovi. You just make some grouping, and then you do the groups, not the questionnaire. You do the groups later on. So any kind of questionnaire that you do is better if you can, to ask like quantitative variables, because then quantitative variables you can cut it. But if you have like categorical variables, I mean, she could even do like different groups. Silvia here, she could say, okay, I'm gonna see like people under 35 and people over 35. So she still can do things, because she made like 5 categories. But if you have like all the range of ages, you have more richness of the data. So in the results, you can even say, okay, there is something going, and when you turn 35, something happens, and then I don't know, advertising works much better. This is something you can do if you have all the in a continuous way.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, but remember always, we do these kind of questions not just for the sake of questioning this, but for controlling this, because when you control this, you are sure that the effect is because of the variables that you want to study. So the effect is not because other variables. And this is very important. Controlling variables is very important for your results.
Okay.
And I think, I don't know, sorry for the talk, but I think it's important.
No, great, yeah, sure. Thank you.
So people get like a little more of sense. Okay, I don't know. Do we have any more questions? So if we don't have, I think, thank you very much, Silvia. Mil gracias.